So a person requested that I do this video, and I didn't know beforehand. I'd never seen it on the news. And if people remember back, I talked about the Dundalk attack, which was an Egyptian man went and killed a poor Japanese innocent person that had nothing to do with anything to him, done nothing to him, and killed him. It's as simple as. And at the time people thought it was a terrorist attack, and I still classify it as a terrorist attack. The guards might say, the state might say it's not a terrorist attack, but in my eyes, and the eyes of many people, it is a terrorist attack. And I don't like this Egyptian person. And as simple as that, I think they say he was mentally insane in the West. That's what he put up. He said he was not guilty and reason of sanity. And you know what I say? It's just a soft story. He's trying to get sympathy. And he injured two other people by hitting them with a pole. May I just say that? He obviously planned this. And he said it himself that he was doing it in the name of ISIS. Yes. And in that video, the last video done was a year ago. And I was not happy. I was not happy. And I'm trying to keep it cool. I'm trying to keep it cool without losing my temper. And it's as simple as that. I'm trying to keep myself calm and collective here. Because, good God Almighty, because what I'm looking at, I more or less see that the state's going to just put him into a mental hospital for a while and then let him out. Great. I feel so sorry for the families. The families are affected. Him going around with a pole around Drogheda. Dundalk, sorry, not Drogheda. Dundalk, with a pole. He lifted up at the ground and started trying to assault people with it. Obviously, he planned this. Obviously, he did. And him to say that he's doing it in the name of ISIS. What more do I have to say? And then the guy said there's no leaks. Obviously, if he says, you should put it, because if obviously, and it's obviously the judge. I blame the judge. I don't blame anybody else. It's obviously the old judges that are, cozying up to God knows who in the Egyptian embassy. And obviously they're cozying up. And obviously I don't blame the guards. I don't blame the detectives and the rest of that. I don't blame them. They've probably done a huge amount of paperwork. Huge amount. And they brought it up to the judge and the judge just let him off. More or less saying, I feel sorry for the poor lad. He killed a poor innocent man. What more do I have to say? Simple as. That poor man, he was only 24 that he killed. He had his whole life ahead of him. He had a whole life ahead of him. And this terrorist, simple as, terrorist, comes along. God knows what he had in his hand. Knife, or he had a post, he was some post or something going around hitting people. And people thought, the guards even said it when it happened, that it was possibly terrorist related. And the guards, some people might think the guards are stupid, but they have an idea what's going on. And, people do have an idea what's going on. And they said it could have been the terrorist attack at the time. The whole country was in uproar over it. Because people were terrified, because that was the first ever terrorist attack in Irish soil. And I classified it as a terrorist attack, and I'm absolutely outraged. Putting him into a mental hospital, he'd probably get let out for chippers and everything. Like, I'm not even joking, he probably would be given full VIP treatment. He's obviously not insane. He's trying to look for excuses. And I don't mean, obviously he could have something wrong with him. I'm not going to say, there's obviously something wrong. He's obviously a bit deranged if he thinks he's in ISIS. And obviously he thinks he's a terrorist. If he wants to be a terrorist, we send him over. But Lisa Smith's backing out. How about we send him back over on a plane to Turkey and he can stay in a detention camp over in Turkey. That's no bother if he wants to go over there. That's no bother at all, no bother. We have no problem with that. But, go around, this poor man, one man is dead. Two other members of the public that had nothing to do with him. Nothing at all. I wouldn't mind if these were soldiers or guards. At least he was attacking, people who could fight back. But these people can't fight back. These were only civilians. They didn't have any weapons to defend themselves. Can anybody see where I'm coming from? I'm sure loads of people can see where I'm coming from. Because people probably say, now, I'm being very hard on the fellow. Honestly, if it was say it was an accident, say it was deranged or he was mentally disordered, obviously he wouldn't say he was a part of ISIS. That's the biggest thing. Obviously he even said it himself. They didn't even look at it. He said it himself. My Jesus Christ, what more evidence do I have to explain? And obviously one man's dead. Two members of the public probably have serious injuries to this day because of that terrorist. And for him just to be let into a mental hospital for a while and just then forgotten about, then everybody just forgets about him. And then, he's let out in the streets and he's given a free house, he's given everything. Oh, he'd be given the Medal of Honor, he'd be up in Michael D. Higgins says, it's a new one every day. It's a joke. It's really, really a joke. And I wouldn't mind. But if somebody went in a store And I say this so often. If somebody went in and stole a box of matches in a shop, they would be prosecuted. Simple as they end 67 years in prison for stealing the box of matches. This is how corrupt this justice system is. Now, we meet this, and the thing is, too, is to show a message to foreign terrorist groups, that Ireland will not take their crap. They won't come in here and think they can bully Ireland around. We won't stand for it. And I say to people, if ever, God forbid, and God help me if it does ever happen, if there ever is an attack on Irish soil, a bomb or anything from a foreign terrorist organisation, I say to people, we must do whatever we can. If we do see any terrorist trying to do anything, we must, as members of as people of Ireland, stand up against them. Simple as that. Stand up. We won't tolerate them. Simple as that. Other countries might not tolerate them, but we have to overpower them. And overpower them with fear. That's what we have to do. And I say, if I was the Taoiseach, I would hang myself in shame that, that let him go into a mental hospital. I would lock him up for 16 or 17 years, and maybe let him into a mental hospital afterwards. Then maybe put him back into prison for another while. But obviously, one man's dead. His family's obviously grieving. He's only 24. That's the biggest thing. That's the biggest thing about it. There's two other members of the public. They're not innocent bystanders. This is the thing. This country doesn't have any logic, and I feel so sorry for the families that were affected by it. And people are terrified. Obviously, people are terrified. I said they were terrified. People of Dundalk were terrified, I say. But I'm saying to the government, what logic on earth do you have? And I'm saying this to the justice system. If you let this fellow go, you might as well just let every person who just killed anybody in this country, just let them out of the prisons and just put in people that haven't, that are just robbed the box of matches out of the shop and just robbed food for their children that were starving on the street. Because Jesus Christ almighty, that's send them to prison quicker than to send somebody who killed somebody. And somebody, obviously he's just looking for excuses. I can't say this enough. He might be a bit mentally up in the head, in other words. But I have no sympathy for him. I have no sympathy. If he killed an innocent man, he injured two innocent people, innocent bystanders. The guards were at him. The armed response unit responded. Why did he not attack them? If he wanted to fight, he should have joined the army. Simple as that. We would have, he would have been very disciplined in the Irish army. We would have just fired him into a shock and he'd be grand then. Simple as that. Like, good God almighty. And people might say I'm being hard on him, but Jesus Christ. I never really be hard on people in my life. But good God, I have such a hatred for what he done. Like, good God, like innocent people. He killed an innocent person. I don't tolerate, under no circumstances, that's acceptable. If he wants to fight, he can go and fight in the army. If he wants that, he can send him to Iraq, he can send him to Syria, he can go and kill some of his own crowd, whatever he wants to do. But as simple as that, I don't mean to be, winning on any parade or giving out to anybody. But, fair is fair. You do wrong, you pay the punishment. Simple as that. If you break the law, you pay the punishment. And that means you go to prison for a long, long time. And think about what you did. And think about the poor life that you took. And the people that you affected. Instead of just putting them into a hospital and giving them VIP treatment and God knows what else. Anyway, thank you for watching, subscribe for more, and bye.